Hi everyone, and welcome to another stay-at-home edition of Math Circle. You remember me, I'm Tian,
And I'm Tara, Tian's wife.
and we're going to be talking about a game introduced by Francis Su, a mathematician, on Twitter about a week ago called Game of Cycles. And so let's go ahead and click here to take a look at the rules. I will be sure to include this tweet in the description below. So the rule for Game of Cycles is you start with a board, and when we look at this board, it's a bunch of vertices connected by edges in between them, a mathematical object we call a graph, and the players take turns drawing arrows on the board. And so there's two ways you can win the game. One is you can complete what's called a cycle cell. A cycle cell is a cell of the board where if you go around, all of the arrows go in the same direction and form a cycle. So if you complete a cycle cell, you win. Or if you make the very last legal move on the board. Now, what constitutes a legal move, you can put an arrow on any edge that doesn't have an arrow, except you're not allowed to create sinks or sources. A sink is a vertex where every single arrow goes into it, and a source is a vertex where every single arrow comes out of it. So we can see two examples of sinks and two sources. These are okay. This arrow doesn't have a direction yet, so that's fine. But you couldn't put an in arrow going in here or else it will become a sink. This arrow has an in and an out, so whatever we do on this vertex or this edge will be fine. All right. And so just to clarify one thing, he draws another picture here. When we talk about a cycle cell, this doesn't count. This is a cycle, but this doesn't count as a cell because there's cells inside of it. We want the smallest minimal cells. So to help us get it acclimated, Tara and I are going to play around. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
And since I'm a gentleman, I will let her go first.
Okay. So I'm going to do my first arrow right here.
All right, great. And so let's talk about strategy a little bit. What I shouldn't do, for example, is put an arrow going this way right here.
Yeah, think of it kind of like tic-tac-toe.
Exactly. You don't want to just set it up for your opponent. If I drew an arrow here, what would you do?
I'd win.
That's right. She'd win. She'd just have to draw one more arrow going that way, and she'd be the winner. So let me do something different from that. Then let me draw an arrow going the other way. Aha. All right.
Oh, you think you're so clever. So I will do another arrow going this way.
All right. And let me draw maybe an arrow going here.
Okay. Well, if I put an arrow here, then you would put one here and win. If I put an arrow here, you would win here. So it looks like you just mopped up the board.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. It depends on which way the arrow goes, right?
That's true. So if I put an arrow like this,
Mm-hmm. Right? Right. So let's think about what's left now. There's only 1, 2, 3 edges left. Um, I can't put one out here going out because that would turn this into a source. If I drew one here, it would have to go in. If I drew one here, it would have to go out this way. And I think this one's still open. So why don't I do this?
okay, then I can do this.
Yeah, and look at that. If I do that, then she draws that, and she has created a cycle cell, and she has won.
Yep.
All right. Let's let's take a look at another example. And I shall go first.
You're
And
not a good drawer.
I am not a good drawer. And I will take that, and you do the same. All right. Then how about I go over here? All right. What if I drew over here now?
And you win.
Do I?
Oh, no, you sure don't. Haha. Oopsie doopsie me. Okay, so I can't draw an arrow going
Yeah, not
that
this way.
but I can do it going this way.
You sure can.
And then, what are you going to do to win?
I'm going to draw one right here.
There you go.
And I've drawn a cycle cell. And I win.
Mm.
And so, to go back to the original tweet, Francis Su introduces his own example of a game that's played, and in his example, player one also wins. So, here's some questions. Here's a question you can ask yourself. When we're playing on this board, does player one always win? Or does player two have a strategy that they can employ to win? Oops. And he drew some examples of some other boards. If you play on these, ask which one of these does player one have a strategy to win? For which one of these does player two have a strategy to win? And for which one of these is there neither a strategy for player one or for player two to win? And then make up your own boards. Draw your own graphs. Just go nuts. Go do be do 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 do. Da 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 da. See, there we go, a board.
I think you've been inside for too long, honey.
I have been inside for a long time. And, all right, there we go. Who wins here, player one or player two? Make up your own. The road's wide open. But then when you figure out who wins and who loses on these boards, see if there's some pattern that can tell you what separates the winning boards from the losing boards. When you're done thinking about this, you can browse through a paper that Francis Su put out with some co-authors shortly after tweeting this. He and some of his friends looked at this board and they found some cases where they found winning strategies for either player on certain types of boards. But they themselves said that they haven't figured out everything. So maybe you could find a type of board that player one or player two always wins on. And you could get a paper written up as well. This is part of the fun of doing mathematics, is figuring things out that no one's done before. So go ahead, play this game, and we will see you in 2 weeks for another stay-at-home edition of Math Circle.
You guys stay in and stay safe, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.